seeing the cause. Who you think they call when they need it enforced? Yeah. Doing more than talk, true to it, can't rip the team apart. Back, gon' set it up, dance with the devil, we gon' heat it up. Back from beyond, you gon' find out what it mean to be the God. Back from beyond, find out what it mean to be the God. Coming back from beyond, now begin what's on. Against all odds, I'ma get that, bring that on, go and tell me where they at. Against all odds, I'ma do this, standing in the way, I think you better move. Against all odds, I'ma do this, you in the way, I think you better move. Against all odds, I'ma do this, you in the way, I think you better move. Against all odds.
Hey everybody, welcome to Defying the Odds, and I'm your host, Higgy. Defying the Odds is my attempt to create a ripple effect of positivity, hope, and inspiration in our recovery community by sharing inspirational testimonies of people that have overcome seemingly insurmountable odds and hardships in life and have decided to step out of the shadows and share their testimonies with us in hopes of helping someone out there that may be struggling at this time. If you're catching us live, the live button will be right there. Drop a hashtag live. If that button is not there, you're catching a replay, drop a hashtag replay. Please let us know where you're watching from. Defying the Odds is powered by No More Heroin 501c3. That's my nonprofit. And all proceeds from streaming go directly into my No More Heroin account, which I provide sober living scholarships for those leaving treatment and headed out into the world. We give them a leg up. Okay. So tonight I have an amazing guest. Tim Lodgen is a Marine veteran, a former MMA fighter, former junior boxing champ, and he's an advocate for mental health and addiction. He's got a powerful testimony. His testimony epitomizes what I'm trying to do with this platform. It's just creating a ripple effect in hopes that the ripples are going to touch someone else out there, man. There's too many people dying. We suffered a significant loss here in my recovery family yesterday. So we're really trying to smash the stigma of addiction and mental health so that people will be more comfortable in sharing their stories, reaching out for help, and we want to be there for them. So I'm gonna bring Tim on right now. You guys all welcome Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Higgy, what's going on, brother? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and taking the time to share your story.
Absolutely.
So we were chopping it up a little bit beforehand. We were talking about the UFC fights last night. What are your thoughts on the main event?
No, I wanted Volkanovski to win just because he had a losing streak. I think he's been knocked out 2 times in the last 3 or 4 fights. But Topuria he's young, he's strong, he's coming. I think he might have the belt for a while, to be honest.
I've heard several of my friends say that as well. He's going to have that belt for a long, long time.
He hits like a tank.
He's so good, so fast, so determined.
Yeah. And when you're compact like that and you throw short direct punches, it's like hitting a concrete wall.
Dude, he crumbled. Volk crumbled.
Now, and if you really look at the shot, it wasn't like it was a short hit, and they're the ones that jar you.
Hi, Mitzi. It's good to see you. Hey, if you guys would please take the time to share this out. I love doing live feeds instead of just recording because there's so much interaction that goes on in the comments, which I can see. I'll put your comments up on the screen and any questions you might have for Tim. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of strength, a lot of hope to offer, and we're gonna jump right into it, Tim. What's your background? Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I still live here, actually.
Be more.
Yeah, I'm in the county. I'm about 15 minutes from the city. I don't go there very often. It's a pretty place to be, but it is extremely violent.
Yes. Every time I've been to Baltimore, there's certain areas you can drive through and you can just feel the dread, the death, the violence, the doom and the gloom.
Yeah, and it's like you'll be on one block with beautiful sightseeing places. You make a wrong left turn, and you're like, I shouldn't have made this turn. I got to turn the hell back around and get out of here. It's that quick.
It's scary. So you grew up on the streets out there?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I actually was born in the city, and I believe in the late '70s, my parents moved out into Baltimore County, and that's where I primarily grew up, like Lutherville, Towson area, and then Parkville is where I graduated high school from. In my 20s and 30s, I moved out to a place called Hartford County, which is almost like the sticks, I guess, a little bit further out. And then in my late 30s, I moved back down here to Parkville, where I grew up at, and I've been here now for about 12 years again with my family.
So, what was it like? What was your family dynamics growing up?
At 6 years old, my father and mother got a divorce. And I make sure I tell this in my story because at 6 years old, growing up without a father figure, now I have a brother who's 10, almost 11 years older than me. As a 6 year old young boy, and your father leaves, I thought it was my fault. Maybe I didn't do good grades. Maybe I didn't clean up my room. Maybe I didn't listen. Maybe I just could have been a better kid. Now, that actually stayed with me until my 40s, until I got sober, because my thought process was, if my own parent didn't love me, then why the hell should I love myself? So I used that a lot of times to drink and drug.
For
It
sure.
wasn't until I got sober that I was talking to my mom, and I said, well, one of the reasons why I didn't care about myself is because dad never cared about me and he left me. And she said, that's not why your father left. I wish you would have talked to me sooner, but your father ran around on me and I couldn't take it anymore.
Ah,
That's why your father left. But to be quite honest, my father he was a Baltimore City police officer. He retired after 37 years. He would say, son, I'm coming to get you, pack your bags. So I'd pack my bags and wait at the front door. Hour go by, 2 hours go by. I get a phone call. Hey, son, I'm sorry, I got to work over this weekend. I can't pick you up. I'll come next weekend. Next weekend would come. Hey, son, sorry, something came up. I'm not going to be able to get you this weekend. I'll take you to a amusement park next weekend. I'll make it up for you.
mm,
This happened so much that when my mother would say, hey, go pack the bags and wait for your father, I wouldn't even pack the bags and wait at the door. I knew he was going to cancel on me.
such a
It,
disappointment for a young man.
yeah, it was. And to be honest with you, as I got sober and our relationship has rekindled, he apologized for everything. He said, son, I was a selfish, egotistical womanizer. It had nothing to do with you. It was my own thing that I was dealing with. I love you. I've always loved you, but that was all my fault. Again, I had to wait 41 years to hear that.
Yes, and
So
a lot of the collateral damage in your life from your addiction probably stemmed from those feelings of abandonment
100%,
from your childhood.
100%. Now, my mom did a great job. She made up for my father and my mother. She worked three jobs, made sure I had food on the table, clothes, electric on. She ultimately ended up meeting my stepfather when I was, I think, sixth grade. So from sixth grade all through high school, she was with my stepdad. But he was more of a cool uncle, big brother. There was no disciplinary. There was no, hey, son, I love you. There was no hugging. There was no emotional support. He taught me how to be a carpenter. He taught me how to ride motorcycles, taught me how to snow ski, like all the cool things like a really cool uncle would do. I used to smoke pot with him and drink beer. So it wasn't like,
Big men stuff.
yeah, it wasn't like I had an actual father figure, like swaying my way to become a man.
I'm gonna throw up this picture. Who's this in the picture with you?
That is my childhood friend, Brandon Novak. I've known Brandon since I was in fifth grade at Pleasant Plains Elementary School. That was the time right there. That picture was Brandon had about 2.5 years sober. And my daughter had reached out to him saying that I needed help. So he calls me one day, said, hey, man, I'm going to be in Baltimore. You want to meet me up at an AA meeting? And I'm like, cool, man. I'll come and see. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. So I met him up at an AA meeting about 10 minutes from my house. We went to the AA meeting. And I remember walking in and he's like, you don't have to say nothing. You don't have to raise your hand. He said, just sit and listen to what all these people have to say. So we got through the testimonies, and he's like, "You want to go to lunch?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So we go nice little restaurant down the street here called Jerry D's, and we go to lunch, and we talk for a good 2 hours. And he's talking to me about how his life has changed in sobriety, how he feels so much better about himself, how he could help me. And I'm like, "I'm good, dude." I'm like, "It's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm a third beer deep at this restaurant talking to him. I'm good. I only drink a 12 to 18 beers a day. I get up and go to work. I'm straight. I don't need nothing. I smoke pot. I drink my beer. I stopped taking the pain pills, so I really don't need any help." Well, later that evening, my oldest daughter thought it was so cool that I grew up with Brandon Novak and that I knew him. So I called him and I asked him to come over that night, and we ordered pizza. And that's when that picture was taken. He sat down at the table with my daughters, all three of my daughters and my wife, and he's like, "I can get you on a plane right now and get you to rehab." I'm like, "Brandon, I don't need help. I've only had 7 beers today. I still got a 6 pack left. Like, I'm good to go. As soon as you leave, I'm gonna light up a joint and smoke it outside. Like, I'm straight." He's like, "All you need to do is tell me. I will get you on a plane." I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm good." And then fast forward about 2 years, and I'm kicked out of my house, sleeping in my truck. I attempted suicide, lived through that, and my mother calls him and says, "Brandon, we can't find Tim. Nobody's been able to find him for 2 days. We're worried sick about him." After 2 days of sleeping in my truck, I actually had turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear from anybody. I
I can
wanted to be
relate to that.
alone. I had my 3 sleeves of Fireball whiskey. I was good to go. I didn't need nothing else. And for 2 days, I sat there and drank and threw up and passed out. And every once in a while, I'd turn on my radio and listen to some sad ass music and really put myself through the ringer. My kids deserve a better father. My wife deserves a better husband. My parents deserve a better son. I'm a burden on everybody. I've done nothing but screw everything up in my life. I don't deserve to live. So I did that for 2 days. At 7 after 10 in the morning on March 5th, 2021, I turned my phone on. Literally 2 minutes later, the phone rings, and I look down and it says Westchester, Pennsylvania. My first thought is a scam call or a bill collector because I don't
Sure.
know anybody that lives in Westchester, Pennsylvania. But for some reason, I tell myself to pick it up. And I pick it up, and it's Brandon on the other line. And excuse me for a second, but I'm going to tell you what he said because it's powerful because the way he said it, it meant he said, "Lodgen, what the fuck are you doing?" I said, "I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm drunk, and I'm tired." And he says, "Good motherfucker, that's what you need. I got a plane ticket ready for you tonight at 8:30. I got you into Banyan Treatment Centers down West Palm Beach, Florida. I want you to get on that plane and go get your life back." And I'm on the other end, like, "Okay, man, yeah, sure, sure." I didn't want to go to rehab. I didn't want to hear what he had to say. I'm literally just agreeing with him on the phone so I could just hang it up. I hang up, a phone call rings. It's my wife. "Where have you been? We've been trying to find you. Everybody's word sick." I went and parked at one of those parking rides for 2 days. I'm like 10 miles down the street. She's like, "I just talked to Brandon. Please come home, pack your bags, take a shower, try to eat something, and try to take a nap." Because I had about 4 or 5 hours before I had to get to the airport. So I come home, packed my bags, took a shower. I couldn't eat and I couldn't take a nap. I had racing thoughts. My mind was going crazy. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm talking myself out of going. I can't go. Who's going to pay my truck payment? Who's going to
Every
pay the
excuse
electric?
in the world, right?
Dude, yeah. Who's going to pay my truck payment? And my job can't go on without me. I'm the best carpenter they have. Um, who's going to put food on the table? Who's going to watch my girls after school? Every other excuse other than what about me? What about taking care of myself? And I truly believe in my heart that my addiction and my mental illness, because I have bipolar as well, knew it was probably its last chance to take my life. And as I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, talking myself out of going, I simply hear this voice that says, "Take my hand. I will take the pain away." And
That's powerful.
It walks me to the basement of my home, and it tells me to throw a rope around the rafter and stand up on a bucket, and it says, "Just step off. I will take all the pain away."
Mhm.
And I listen, and I go into the basement of my home where my children live, and I throw a rope around my neck. I stand up on a bucket, and now that I'm sober, I know there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for you in the timing it is meant to happen for you. As I'm stepping off the bucket, my wife realizes I'm not in the bedroom. She comes running down the steps. "What are you doing?" Literally, and it scared me back up on the bucket. I'm like, "I can't go. I can't do this. I don't know how to stop drinking. I just want the pain to go away." And she says, "Do you know what this would do to your little girls? Please, please get down and get on that plane. Everything is going to be okay." So I get down, I get on the plane, I go to the airport. And what happens to me next at this airport, I truly believe changed my life. I call Brandon. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, I'm past security. I got 35 minutes till I'm about to leave." All he says is, "I'm proud of you. I love you. You're about to get back everything that you've ever lost times 10." And he just hangs up the phone. Higgy, as I go to sit down at this seat, waiting for them to call me to board the plane, as I sit down in the chair at the airport, I get this overwhelming feeling of hope that engulfs my entire body. My worry, my doubt, my fear, my anxiety, and I'm telling you, it felt like my addiction was lifted out of my body.
Wow.
And I sit there and I hear this voice that I've never heard before and I have never heard since. It was a woman's voice. She was very loving. It was very calming, and she simply says, "Everything is gonna be all right." I knew right then at the age of 44 years old, after 27 years of addiction, mental illness, and suicide attempts, that my I was finally gonna get my life back, and I haven't looked back since. I haven't had one craving. I haven't thought about drugs or alcohol. I have been completely focused on changing my life and helping others and possibly giving them that little glimmer of hope that they may just need to change their mind of taking their own life or stepping into a rehab and experiencing this gift that I have been given. It's truly amazing.
I love that. That whole sequence is a divine intervention, right?
Absolutely.
From start to
100%.
start to finish.
I, I,
And to have that feeling removed from you and feel that I got chills thinking about that.
It it's it was like 1,000-pound rock just lifted off of my body. I felt light, and for the first time in 27 years, I was genuinely at peace. It was amazing.
Oh, well, that's powerful, bro. So, where did your addiction start?
My addiction started, in 12th grade, so look, man, I grew up. I played baseball for 8 years. I was an all-star pitcher. I played football. I was all-star running back. I skateboarded with Brandon and Bucky Lasik, and
I heard you were a pretty good skateboarder back in the day.
I was actually really good. I was sponsored by a couple local shops, sponsored by independent trucks. I had probably a future. What derailed that was in ninth grade, I discovered I liked girls a little bit more than riding a skateboard. So that became my priority
Sure.
through ninth grade and through high school. But still, really, honestly, no drugs, no alcohol. I wasn't interested in it. I I was judgmental if you drank or did drugs. I was like, "You're a loser," blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But 11th grade, the summer before senior year, my grades weren't good enough to get into college. A lot of my friends were getting into heavy drugs, and the ones that weren't were joining the military. Now, I come from a whole generation. Both my grandfathers were in the army. My dad was in the army. My brother was in the army. So I decided to join the Marine Corps the summer before going into senior year.
Well,
For
thank you for your
me,
service.
Thank you, and thank you for yours. I see that you're a veteran as well.
Yes.
Um, for me, I told myself when I graduate and I get into boot camp, shit's going to get real. So let me have some fun this year and get it all out of my system. So I started going to parties, I started drinking. And for me, when the alcohol got in me, my barrier dropped. I was, well, what else is at this party? I might as well try everything because next year I can't do all this.
Right.
So I started smoking pot. I started tripping on LSD, eating mushrooms. So started smoking fucking PCP, did cocaine, K2. The raves were big in the 90s. That's when I was in high school. Started going to raves. Um, so anything that was at the parties, I would do. Thank God in my county, heroin was not around at that time because I probably would have tried that too.
PCP was when I was younger. I had friends travel in from Baltimore, and they would bring parsley or whatever the
Parsley
green stuff,
flakes, yep, greens,
and it's smoke. It's PCP.
yeah.
The first time I tried that, I blacked out, and when I came to, I was wondering why this carpet was so close to my eye. And I was face down on the carpet, looking at the carpet, go, why is this carpet so close to my eye? Eh,
That was some pretty wild stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Do you remember? We're about the same age. You remember them old film canisters that look like black trash cans?
Yes,
That's what we would buy them in. It would come in an old film canister.
that's a lot
And
of PCP. You don't need a
yeah,
whole lot.
no, no, you smoke like a bowl size. You hit a like one or two hits, and then you were good to go for a couple hours. But yeah,
Crazy.
that's how we would get them. We would get greeners, or we would know somebody that had a jar of liquid, and we would call that water.
Yeah,
And then you take your cigarettes and dip them in there, called
yeah.
dippers, and then smoke the cigarettes. So yeah, it was around big time in the 90s when I was in high school.
Hmm. I remember. I remember. Crank and before meth came out, crank always came from the East Coast too. To me here in the Midwest,
Oh, okay, sounds about right. I mean, Baltimore, DC, Virginia. Yeah,
all that. Yeah.
absolutely.
So we were talking about how you got addicted. What happened?
So I graduated high school. I got into the Marine Corps. The drugs stopped. There was no more drugs when I was in the service. But as you know, when you're in the military, all around the base of the military are bars, strip clubs, tattoo parlors, and churches. I don't know if they set them up that way for a reason, but we would leave at 4 o'clock. We go out to the bars and strip clubs. We would get a tattoo, and then every Sunday, every once in a while, we go to church and repent our sins. But that literally was what we did. We trained hard, and at 4 p.m. we left base. We went out to the strip clubs till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
We'd come back, maybe sleep for an hour or two, get up at 3 o'clock, be on formation at 3:30.
It's
Now at
like
eight,
it was mandatory, right?
we would literally see our sergeants out at these bars, late 20s, early 30s, and they would just simply say, "Don't get arrested, don't get in a fight. Make sure your ass is up at 3:30, ready to go running by 4." There was no deterrence of you guys are underage, you shouldn't be here.
Sure.
And the bars around the bases, which I'm sorry, but I agree with, their motto was if you're old enough to die for this country, you're old enough
Absolutely.
to have a cold beer. So
Absolutely.
they would serve us all night long. Their only stipulation was if you went and ordered a beer at the bar, you had to take it back to a table and you just couldn't stand around with it in your hand in case the police or somebody walked in. But
Right.
they would serve it to you, and the only time you could have it in your hand is when you were drinking. Other than that, you had to set it back down. But there was literally no deterrence. It was almost a badge of honor to see how much we could drink, still get up, go running 3, 4 miles, throw up on the run, and complete our day. It was like what we did in the Marine Corps.
Sounds horrible.
That sounds, I couldn't even imagine doing that now. I couldn't even, I wouldn't last an hour, much less stay up to 1 o'clock, get up 2 hours later and go running.
I did the same thing in the military, only I didn't have to have the run in the morning. I just had to be there for general quarters and check in and go about my day. That was bad enough.
Yeah, I was 0311 infantry. We ran 3 miles every morning. It
Phew.
didn't matter. Every morning we ran. Yeah. So,
Really?
but about 6 months into my enlistment, we got deployed over to Somalia, and this was after the war in '95, so it's closer to '96. Now, war was over. I'm not a combat veteran by any means, but I saw what the ramifications of war did to a third world country. We were not welcome. It was hostile territories.
Yes.
And when I got back, I honestly had a hard time readjusting back into the States. And I honestly had second thoughts of why we were even over there. Why were so many innocent people killed? Like, what was the whole end result of war?
Right.
And it started to affect my bipolar, my depression, and I didn't know if I wanted to be in the military anymore. On top of, at this point, I'm home. I'd done broken my ankle like 3 times while I was in service, and I'm at the chaplain, and I'm talking to him, and he says, "So what are your thoughts?" I'm like, "Look, they want to change my MOS. I'm not fit for 0311 anymore. I don't want to be a motor T. I don't want to be a pencil pusher. What are my options?" And he says, "Well, you've been in service 2.5 years. You have an um, honorable sheet." He said, "You can get an honorable discharge and go home." And that's about it. So that's what I ended up doing was I got an honorable discharge about 2.5 years in.
Okay.
I came home, and immediately when I came home, I started doing drugs again. I started smoking pot and taking pain pills. The drinking never stopped. That was from high school
For
all the
sure.
way up until I got to 44. But as immediately as soon as I didn't have any drug tests, I was back smoking pot, eating mushrooms, eating
Wide
Percocets.
open, just running
Oh
wide
yeah,
open.
absolutely. Look, to be honest, the first month home was awesome. I didn't have to get up at 3 o'clock. I didn't have to go running. The second month hit me. I'm like, man, I'm
No
damn near
direct, no
right.
direction.
I'm 21. I don't
Yes.
have I don't have a purpose anymore. I don't have an identity. I'm not a US Marine. What am I going to do with the rest of my life now? Like, I'm really lost. I'm home. I'm back at my mom's house. I don't have a car. I don't have a job. I don't have savings. And the third month hit me, and I fell into a severe depression. And one day I went into my stepfather's armoire and I grabbed his Glock and I sit it on my lap and I'm contemplating using it. And for some reason or the other, I had the right mind to call my girlfriend at the time, and I said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but I'm looking at a gun and I need help." She came over that night and took it from me. When my mother got home from work, I told her I need serious help right now. I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to get in and see some doctors. So that Monday, we went and saw the doctors, and they diagnosed me with bipolar 1 manic depressive disorder. And with somebody who actually has diagnosed mental illness, and I want to say this, it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, whether you have a mental illness, whether you have heart disease, liver, kidney, whether you have um, cancer, I don't care what it is. Please be honest with your doctors. I
Yeah,
was never honest with my doctors. So when I would go back for a 90-day checkup and they would ask me how the medicines were working, I would say they're not. I don't know what's wrong. I must be crazier than you thought, or I'm just so broken that the medicines don't work. I never told them I was drinking 12 to 18 beers a day,
absolutely. Yep.
taking my pain medicine, eating my smoking my pot. So it didn't matter what concoction they put me on, what milligram they had me on. It was never going to work. That went on from 21 to 44 until I finally got sober. On and off medicines, up and down milligrams, lithium, like in and out of psych wards,
Just messing with your brain chemistry on
everything.
top of your addiction
Yeah,
abuse.
and to be honest with you, it couldn't have been the alcohol and the drugs because that's definitely not the problem, right? It was just the medicines. They couldn't find the right one to get me right. But the
Damn
alcohol,
doctors.
the alcohol and the drugs had nothing to do with any of it.
Stephanie Runke. Oh yeah, be completely open with your doctor so you can be treated properly. Absolutely.
And I work in a treatment facility now, there's a lot of misdiagnosis
Sure, I
that
get it.
come from people with years and years of substance abuse, that when they go to see the doctor and say they're having hallucinations, depression episodes, all this could just be a chemical imbalance because of the substances that you've been ingesting for years and years
Absolutely.
and years. So they
Absolutely.
put them on this medicines, and then the medicines aren't working because they haven't had time for their brain to heal off of the substances. And I see that a lot.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. There's a lot of the just the symptoms of withdrawal, post-acute withdrawal, getting your brain chemistry. I've been through it myself. I've been on all
Yeah.
kinds of psych meds. The VA had me on everything, but I wasn't telling them I was smoking crack and shooting dope.
No,
Why would
that's
I
not the
do that? Why would I tell on myself?
that's not the problem, right?
Yeah, that's not the problem. That's my solution to my problem. You guys just can't figure this out.
Right.
Uh, so your first love, your DOC was opiates or alcohol?
You know, if I want to get to the root of my addiction, it is alcohol.
That's where I'm going with this. Yeah.
The when I got into treatment, and what people don't, I guess, if you're in recovery, you understand this. People new to recovery, the substances is the byproduct of what's really going on. It could be trauma, it could be mental illness. To counteract that, we use substances to numb the pain, to forget about things, and to make us feel normal, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lack of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and um, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. There's another one. I forget the fourth one. Our brain chemistry is not where it needs to be. So when we take a hit of crack or we smoke a beer, that dopamine endorphin spike comes up and it makes us feel unquote quote normal. So the root of
Pleasure,
my cause, yes, the pleasure.
a lot of pleasure.
The root for me, if I have to go back to where it all started, was from when I picked up that first bottle of beer, because from then it was off to the races.
What do you feel is the root of your addiction? What were you medicating?
I don't know about you. Um, I put a lot of pressure on myself. As early as first, second grade, when I first playing sports, I had to win all the time.
Well, if you're an athlete and you're into it, you want to excel.
Yeah.
You're what do you call it? You like the challenge of it, and you want to be the best, and you want to be an overachiever. I'm trying to think of the right adjective for it, but it's escaping me right now. You're competitive. You're very
Yeah.
competitive.
Well, I'm super competitive. I still am, but and when I really look back on it, when I played baseball, I wasn't just a pitcher. I was the state's all-star pitcher. I took it to the next level. When I played football, I just wasn't a running back. I was our state's, all-star running back. Skateboarding. I didn't just skateboard with my friends. I was skateboarding with Brandon Novak and Bucky Lasik. Like, I always took everything to the next level. And when I failed or didn't do it right, if I missed a pitch and the team lost, it was my fault.
Mhm.
If I didn't score that touchdown in overtime, everything fell on me. Forget the team, forget the other players on the team. It was my fault. I put more pressure on myself than any other person has ever put pressure on me. On top of that, I don't know if this sounds weird, but as a small child, I always had this internal instinct that I'm here for a purpose. I never knew what it was, and I think I was searching and searching for it because I never knew. Well, it's not to be an MMA fighter. It's not to be a Marine. It's not to be a commercial carpenter, a really good drywall finisher. It's not to be a great father or a good son. I've always had this thing inside of me that I had a greater cause to bring people. And drinking and drugging made me forget about maybe what I'm really here for. because that's a lot of pressure to put on myself.
It surely is. You know, that perfectionism aspect. You know, it's
Absolutely.
hard to find any joy in life when you're trying to be perfect, and perfect really doesn't exist.
It doesn't. So I'm thinking, the combination of being a perfectionist, my father leaving when I was a child, what I had to endure in the military, it all combined, and just putting it all on me and not giving myself a break every once in a while.
Tell us about your fighting career.
So this is kind of funny. I've been through 46 jobs since I've been out of the Marine Corps at 21.
Wow.
I'm 47. So, and from 20, that's only 26 years. I went through 2, 3 jobs a year. I couldn't hold a job. Again, it wasn't the drugs and alcohol. It was my employer. It was the times I had to be there. Heaven forbid I was 10 minutes late. There's too many rules. I got to work overtime. I got a personal life. It was
Slave
everything other.
drivers.
Yeah, it was everything other. But about 32, I come home. I lost another job. I have 2 daughters at this time. And my wife's like, "What's the problem? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I can't hold a job." Again, chasing a purpose. I want to do something else, something bigger than hanging drywall and mudding. I want to, and she's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I'm still in pretty damn good shape. I'm 32. I've got no health problems. I think I want to do some mixed martial arts." And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "You haven't competitively fought since you were a teenager." I'm like, "Yeah, but I went to the gym every day. I ran. I still like actually took care of myself physically. Screw the mental part. Like my physical aspect, I looked good on the outside. I was a shiny car with no engine. So I looked really good on the outside, but nothing going on the inside." And she's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I think I want to do some MMA." We have a really big guy down here named John Rollo who owns Ground Control out here in Baltimore, Maryland. He's actually really good friends with Joe Rogan. So I go down to his gym. I said, "I want to start fighting." My wife tells me, "You get 6 months. If you can pull something out in 6 months, like you can get a fight, you can actually start making some money, then you can do this. But after 6 months, if nothing comes out of this, it's just another one of your things that you want to try. You gotta let it go and go back to work." We got 2 kids now.
Right.
So 6 months comes, I actually pick up a fight. 6 months turns into 4 years, and I'm fighting up and down the East Coast, Maryland, Virginia, DC, Philadelphia. I'm not making that much money. 1,500, 2,000 a fight, and you can only fight every 90 days. So it wasn't a lot of money, but I had self-worth, I had self-value, I had self-esteem. I felt good about myself because I was putting in the work and reaping a reward from it. So it comes to I'm 35 going on 36. I'm up at Harris Casino in Philadelphia, PA. I'm fighting for the 155-pound belt, a company called XFC, Extreme Fighting Championships. And halfway through the first round, I got the guy in a rear naked choke, and I yank back a little bit too much, and I feel pop, pop, pop in my shoulder, burning like burning hot
Oh,
knives in my shoulder. I had to let go of it. He flips me around, chokes me out. I get back to the dressing room, and my trainer hands me my shirt to put on, and I can't lift my right arm.
wow.
He's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I don't know. I can't lift my arm at all." So he helps me get dressed. I go out into the casino where 35 friends and family drove to Philadelphia to watch me fight because it was on TV. It was in front of 3,000 people. And my wife goes to hand me a beer. Now, even though I write with my left hand, I'm predominantly right-handed. Well, I grab the beer with my left hand, and she immediately notices, "That's weird. Why didn't you grab it with your right hand?" I'm like, I can't lift my arm past my belt line."
Mm.
And she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" I'm like, "No, there's something seriously wrong." She's like, "That's it. You're done." She's like, "Tim, you're almost 36. You're done. You had fun. This is over." So I go to the doctors that week, and I had emergency rotator cuff surgery on my right shoulder which started a 4.5 year long prescription pain pill addiction to Oxycontins.
Yep.
That at the time when they first came out, I could literally get them from my primary care physician. There was no jumping through hoops. There was no going to pain management clinics. I could literally just call him and be like, "Doc, I'm out. I need a refill," and he would fill them.
I'm gonna throw.
Also,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Also, on top of this, if you remember, when they first came out, OxyContins were not addictive, and
Right.
you can stop them whenever you want without any adverse side effects. So they were pushing this drug out to the market.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the opiate epidemic, really.
Yeah, it was, and it sucked me in, man. And like every great addict, I wasn't taking one every 4 hours. I was taking four and five. I was running through my prescription 2 weeks earlier than the doctor would refill it. I would call my buddies to hold me over to get me something until the doctor would fill the prescription. And on top of this, I'm eating 12, 15, 20 milligram oxys a day, drinking 12, 18 beers, smoking my eighth of weed. And it got to a point where I got really scared. I literally got scared one day and I said, man, even though I'm used to doing this and I've been doing this for so long, there could be a chance I could go to sleep tonight and my body might say, screw you, I'm done. And I might not wake up tomorrow. So I sat on the edge of my bed and I said, well, I'm not going to die in my sleep. If I'm going to die, I'm going to do it right now. And I reach over and I grab my bottle and I dump 18, 20 milligram oxys out in my hand. I take all 18 of them. I
Wow.
go out into the living room and I guzzle a 12 pack of beer in 45 minutes. I go into my bedroom and I lay on the bed and I remember saying, please God, don't let me wake up. I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. I just want the pain to go away. And I pass out and I wake up the next day at like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I was out for like 18, 19 hours. Um, when I woke up, the first thought I thought was, holy shit, I didn't die.
Wow.
My second thought was to get up and go into the bathroom and grab my refill that was sitting on the counter, and I dumped the entire refill into the toilet.
Wow, that takes
For
some strength right there.
for the next 10 days, I was the sickest I have ever been in my entire life. But
So
go ahead.
describe that for those that don't know.
Um, it was, I felt like I was dying. The shakes, the chills, the sweats, the throwing up, the going to the bathroom, not being able to hold my bowels, the insomnia, the racing thoughts. I couldn't eat. I could barely keep water down. I felt like I was literally dying. My body was aching and hurting. My heart was racing, sweating profusely. But all through all of that, in between the throwing up and the going to the bathroom, I would look at myself in the mirror every morning and I told myself, I don't care how bad this gets. We are never taking pain medicine again. Don't ever forget this feeling. And I told myself this every day for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, I'm going to share this. I'll be quick. I'll be kind of quick, but this is how manipulative and deceiving and cunning and baffling the disease of mental illness and addiction is. I get in my truck and I go for a ride through this beautiful park. And I'm driving through the park and I'm crying. I'm banging on the steering wheel. I'm hitting the roof of my truck, and I'm looking up at the sky, and I'm saying, "If you love me and you created me, why am I suffering so bad? If I was here for a purpose, why are you putting me through all of this? I don't understand what I have done to deserve this disease of addiction and mental illness. Why am I broken? Are you even out there, or do you even exist? Because if you did, you wouldn't maybe suffer like this." And I drive through the park and I get to this tree where in 1996, my best friend, unfortunately at the age of 18, was racing around the corner, lost control of his car and hit the tree and died at the age of
Hmm.
18. And I get out of my truck and I go up to the tree and I put my hand on the tree. And I'm like, Bill, I need a sign, man. I need a sign that I'm not alone, that there's something else out there, that I'm being watched over, I'm being protected. I just need a sign that there's something else out there besides me, because honestly, I didn't believe it. I had no faith. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in a spiritual higher power. I believed in nothing. And I go to leave the park, and I had to pull over about halfway through driving through the park. But for some reason, I pull over on the wrong side of the road, facing oncoming traffic. And I'm blowing my nose and I'm wiping my tears out of my eyes. About 5, 10 minutes goes by and this car pulls up in front of me. And because I'm on the wrong side of the road, we're windshield to windshield. And I watch this gentleman get out. He opens the back door and grabs his dog. He's about to walk across the street and go to the water and go take his dog for the walk. And I'm looking at this man. I'm like, man, he looks familiar. I can't place where I know him from, but he looks really familiar. And then all of a sudden it dawns on me. My friend died December 26th. Sorry, December 27th, 1996. This date is March 16th, 2017, 21 years after my friend passed away. I watched this man walk across the street, and all of a sudden it dawns on me. My best friend who died 21 years earlier, it was his father.
Wow.
I hadn't seen this man since the day of my friend's funeral. And I get out and I look at him and I say, Mr. Bill, is that you? And he looks at me and says, Timmy, what's wrong? And I fall to the curb. I said, I tried committing suicide. I don't know why I lived. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I don't know why I'm here. He walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he says, Timmy, I'm not supposed to be here this morning. My bags are packed in my truck. I was supposed to be in Myrtle Beach. I was supposed to leave at 6 a.m. this morning. My wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come walk the dog this morning at 10 a.m. I believe I was sent here to see you. And
Wow.
I looked at him and I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him for a sign that we weren't alone, that they were watching out over us. And he says, Timmy, everything's going to be okay. We're being watched out over. We're being protected. Everything's going to be all right. And I get in my truck and I leave. And this is where the cunning and baffling and manipulative part of addiction comes in. As I'm leaving the park and I have about 5, 10 minutes of relief, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. Nothing is going to happen to me. I'm being protected. Just like that, the disease of addiction says you're absolutely right. Nothing is going to happen to you. You're being protected. So you don't have to stop drinking because you're being protected. And for the next 4 years, from 2017 to March 5th, 2021, I drank the most alcohol I ever drank in my entire life. The beer wasn't enough. I switched over to the Fireball whiskey. And at the last year and a half of my drinking, I was drinking 30 to 35 Fireball miniatures a day. 10 in the morning to get up, 10 at lunch, and 10 after I got off to work to pass out and wake up and do it over again. Um, I didn't realize I was killing myself without killing myself, like literally. But when I got to rehab, they did all my vitals and it took my blood and stuff. The doctor pulled me in. He says, I don't know how you got here at this time in your life, but if you would have waited 1 more month to come into rehab, you would have died of alcohol-related illnesses and you would not have made it to your 47th birthday. Your liver and kidneys are failing. Your blood pressure is 186 over 150 something. You're about to have a stroke. He said the timing of you coming in here is enough for where we can reverse everything that's been happening to you. I started thinking about Brandon calling me, what happened to me in that park, me getting into rehab at the exact time, and there truly is nothing called coincidence. It happens for you in the right time in your life when it is meant to be. I I've learned to take my hand off the wheel, let whatever's up there guide me, changed my perception, and my world around me has changed completely. I'm at peace. I know why
That's
I'm here now.
beautiful. That's beautiful. That's your purpose. You found your purpose?
I have. I truly, the 27 years of addiction and mental illness that I went to, it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. It
Yes.
happened for me to become the person I am today. You can't live in the light without living in the darkness. And I truly believe that I went to school for 27 years.
Yes.
It was a lesson. I've had the opportunity. Speaking with you is my 116th interview and or podcast. I've had the opportunity of being featured in 7 mental health and sober magazines. I had the great opportunity last year to be voted Baltimore, Maryland's most inspirational person of 2023, from addict to advocate. And I
Congratulations. You
now
deserve it.
have the great opportunity to work full time in a substance abuse and mental health facility where I get to meet these people who are coming from psych wards, coming from homelessness, coming from poverty, and I can help mold them and guide them and get them through our 21-day program into a sober living house or IOP program. I can get them funding, get them clothes, and I get to share my story
Yes.
every single day. And I get to see the glimmer of light that happened to me, that happens to the people that go through rehab when they think there's no such thing as hope, only darkness, and I can see that change in them. I get to be a part of it. What a blessing, what a gift that
It
I get
is.
to experience every single day.
I'm
I
right
know
there
why
with
I'm
you.
here. I know it.
When I first started following you, I saw a clip. You were talking about how you always felt like you were being punished. And what you said was, I wasn't punished. I was being educated.
100%. I,
Elaborate on that.
I, I, I'm speaking for me. All the bad shit that happened to me throughout my life, it was a black cloud following me, right? I always had bad luck. All this bad stuff that always happened to me.
Schleprock.
Yeah. No, it was to make me stronger. It was to change my perspective on life. It was to give me wisdom. I can't help you through mental illness and addiction if I haven't lived through it.
That's right.
It's like you can't be a professor at a college in
Preach,
economics if you
bro.
didn't go to
Preach. Let's
if you
go.
didn't go to school and learn economics. I can't help you in substance abuse or mental illness if I haven't lived through it and come out the other side. I have empathy, not sympathy, because I've been there. I
Yes.
know what it's like to be in the basement of a dark house and see that flicker of a candle at the end of the room and walk my way through the obstacles to grab that candle and follow that light up the steps. I've been there.
It's powerful, man. It's a great analogy, also.
Um, um, I don't know how much time we have left, but I'm going to share this real quick with you because it's been instrumental to me. I want people to know that just because you're sober, life isn't fair.
Mm.
Things will happen to you. It's not what happens to you, it is how you react to the
Yes.
situations that happen to you that defines you and give you character. And I'm going to share this because this year, 2.5 years into my sobriety, I went through the darkest time in my life and I'm still sober. And if I can get through it, anybody can. You can't tell me, oh, my car broke down. I got a flat tire, so I went and drank, or my girlfriend left me, so I shot up some heroin. No. June of this year, I found out that all 3 of my daughters and my sister were molested by my brother.
Oh my God.
5 days after that, my cousin, who I grew up with as a big brother, was found in his bedroom dead after suffering with mental illness and addiction for 38 years. And then 4 days after that, I found that my wife was going out on me in my sobriety. Now I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I didn't get in my truck and didn't drive to the liquor store because I did. I got in my truck and I drove to the liquor store and I sat in that parking lot for 10 minutes and I cried and I beat the steering wheel and I screamed and I yelled and I asked God, my higher power, why are you putting me through this in my sobriety? I've helped people all over the world and I've shared my story. I haven't picked up. Why are you doing this to me? And the answer that I got was because you wouldn't have been strong enough to handle this in your addiction.
Whoa. That's
I sat in
deep.
my truck and I said, no matter what happens to me, it doesn't matter in this life. No one or nothing is getting my sobriety. I
Absolutely.
own it. It's mine. I will only lose it if I give it away. I started my truck. I left the parking lot, and that's it. I was being tested yet again.
Mm.
The tests don't stop.
When you're able to stay strong through a period when others would understand if you drank or used, but you didn't, that's powerful. That's strength right there.
I cannot tell you how many times I share that story at the treatment center. Everybody's jaws drop. People start crying, and the guys come up to me and be like, "I've been in jail. Yeah, I would have done this. I would have done that." I'm like, what does that change? Can you explain to me how anything that already happened changed? My kids were already molested, my cousin's dead, and my wife did what she did. Me picking up is just putting myself in the fire as well. I can't change any of that, but you know what I can do? I can be there for my kids.
Yes.
I can bury
A whole person, a whole
yeah,
person.
I can help them through the trauma and get them in the proper therapy because I know how to do that now.
Yes.
I can bury my cousin and tell him I love him. And to be quite honest with you, man, I put my family through hell for 27 years. I was an addict. I was a blackout drunk. Thank God I was never physically violent, but I was a verbal fucking monster. And I said the meanest, nastiest things to the people I
Yeah.
love.
So hurtful.
So empathy came in when it came to me and my wife because I don't know what it's like to be married to an addict. I don't know what it's like to be married to somebody who's gone through 46 jobs. I don't know what it's married like to have instability with the person that's supposed to be the most stable person in your life. I don't justify people's actions, but what I do know now is I understand people go through things and we have to deal with it in certain ways.
It's powerful, bro. Powerful. I have two questions, then we'll wrap it up. We're right about at the hour. Okay, so you have struggled with suicidal ideation and been tempted to follow through. Do you have any advice or suggestions for others that are struggling with the ideation?
Please know that hope is there. When you lose hope, that is the darkest, scariest place I've ever been in my entire life. I told myself, no one will understand. People are going to judge me. I'm ashamed. I couldn't have been further from the truth if I just would have reached my hand out and asked somebody for help. The amount of people that you maybe not know in your family or
Yes.
friends that have been there, they could be the exact same people to say, hey, take my hand. Let's walk out of here. Let's just talk. Maybe you just need to cry.
Yes.
Maybe you need a damn hug. Maybe you just need somebody to say, you know what, everything that you've been through, I'm proud of you, and we're going to make it out of here. Losing hope was the scariest place I've ever been in my life. And to be there three times and once actually go through with it, and the second one, my wife intervening, man, that is the scariest place I've ever been in my life. And if I would have killed myself, I would have been killing the wrong person.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to hear right there. Perfect. So I work in treatment also. I run groups and whatnot, and I'm going to share this video with them. Right. Um, they're always excited when they get to hear an outside perspective and the struggles and, how you overcame all your struggles, all your character defects, your addiction to come out on top. So what would you say to my clients, people that are new in recovery in their first 30 days? What would you say to encourage them?
I say this all the time because I meet with my clients the first 4 days they come into treatment, and they're worried about the things that they did. They're worrying about what's to come. They're not here now. Worrying about the past brings depression. Worrying about the future brings anxiety. Living in today brings you peace. Don't worry about what you did. Don't worry about what's to come. Be here, be now, be in the present. I don't care if it's a cliche. Stay in today and take it one day at a time. That I remember when I went to recovery and went to my home group and they had that all up on the walls. Oh my God, one day at a time, one day. If you simplify your life to one day at a time, I don't I may have been an asshole yesterday. That's okay. It's done and over with.
I guarantee I was an asshole yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna go to sleep tonight and have a heart attack. I don't know what tomorrow brings. But today I stayed sober. I took care of myself physically. I went to the gym. I hung out with my daughter and my wife today. If I die tonight, I'm peace. I'm a good person. And I think maybe along the way I've helped at least one person. So stay in the now, stay in today. You're good enough. You're worth it. And the world's a better place with you in it. Truly believe that.
Amen. That's what's up. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, bro. This was really good. Really good.
Thank you for having a platform for that so I can share and possibly reach one more person. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. Please tune in on Thursday. I have actor Hick Jeremy. He's also a mental health and a recovery advocate. Saturday, I have Michael Moulton, M to the Rock Radio, coming to us from Dallas, Texas. I'll be glad to catch up with both of these guys. Thank you again, Tim. Such a pleasure to meet you and talk with you. Will you come back again?
100%.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah. That's what's up. Everybody, have a great night. Please, if you haven't already, give us a share. I'm just starting this platform. This is what I like doing. These types of conversations and interacting with you guys in the comments as well. So please keep trudging and have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.